Twitch. Let's go live on Twitch. Go live. IRL. Comic reviews for 3/23/21. Whoop. What? Oh, Bixby, you did it to me again. Damn you, Bixby. If I hit the Bixby button by mistake when I'm trying to mount that in there, it like kicks me off. It's so friggin' annoying.
Bixby jumps in at me randomly.
Does it?
Yeah. I can remember.
Bixby sucks.
Take a picture where you are. Bixby, remember where you parked your car. I'm like, I'm in front of my house, Bixby. Knock it off.
Bixby sucks. Bixby is like the discount AI assistant. Like when you don't have Google on your phone because you bought a generic phone and you know you'd rather have like Google, Siri, even Alexa, but you're stuck with Bixby. Bixby is that friend that tags along that you just consider a friend because they loaned you $5 once when you were in college. Bixby is not a good friend. I took off my mask so the deaf community can read my lips because I can't sign fast enough. Bixby is like Diamond Distribution. They both suck. Yeah. I shouldn't bite the hand that feeds. But God damn it, Diamond. That's exactly what Diamond does with all the comic shops. So, whatever. I need to move these books. This is last week or something? Or? So many books floating around. We have pop culture news. Berserker got announced that it would be a TV show and a movie. What else?
We thought they casted, but they have a director?
No, the writer.
The writer for Zatanna.
The writer for Zatanna has been picked, and I actually think that the writer looks a bit like Zatanna if she just dyed her hair, but it's cool. What else? Anything else, Ken?
Black Widow is coming to theaters and Disney Plus premiere after July 9th.
Yeah, Black Widow's coming July 9th to theaters and Disney Plus, but it's delayed again. I think Black Widow's probably going to set the record for the most delayed movie of all time, most number of times delayed. It's kind of ridiculous at this point. Falcon and Winter Soldier, yes, it was good. I finally watched the first episode today. I'm happy about it, but I'm happy for the wrong reasons because I really, really hate U.S. Agent John Walker. I can't stand that character, and seeing him grin from Cap's suit was...
Punchable face in the MCU.
I shouldn't be talking about spoilers, though, should I? My bad.
It's been almost a week. So.
It's been a week. Y'all know I got a big mouth for spoilers. I try not to, but it happens. What else? Any other pop culture news before we get into the comic reviews? If you watch the Snyder Cut, somebody pointed it out and Cam showed me, but the Flash in the Snyder Cut destroys Windows with a touch because even in the DC universe, Windows no longer supports Flash. Greetings from Arizona. Hey, what's up, buddy? You're in Arizona now. Oh, okay. It's wild. There's like 10 Captain Americas better than John Walker. Yogi and me were talking about this. There is, yeah. Let's be honest. Captain Britain is a better Captain America than John Walker. I mean, he's a character that I love to hate. I will have to admit that. Like, and the U.S. Agent comic that came out recently just reinforced why I can't stand that character. And that comic is kind of problematic. It's weird. Speaking of problematic, this comic isn't problematic. There's a reference in here. Sheridan, Sandoval, Tarragona, and Sanchez, and we're talking about Teen Titans Academy, The Infinite Frontier, issue number 1, where we're going to get the backstory as to what leads to that big apocalypse that they're fighting at the end. But it doesn't open like that. We're going to get a new cast of Titans that are joining the Academy to learn from the old season members of the Titans. And it's pretty cool. It's like a trip down memory lane. On top of that, well, there's now a new Red X mystery, and they reference Harry Potter in this, and literally, like the kids are like, "Well, we get the reference, but it's just that it's problematic and better left ignored." And that is a big dig at J.K. Rowling, and just hysterical. I was in love with that. So yeah, good job. It was a slam on the side. Didn't name her directly, but yeah, U.S. agent is what you get when you order Captain America off Wish. That's true. That was Al. Anyway, so Teen Titans Academy, the art is great, the storyline is great. Is it Strange Academy good? No, but it's still pretty good. It's pretty good. It's worth a read. I chuckled a couple times. I had a good time. If you're a DC fan, I think you will have a good time with that as well. Captain Kirk. Oh, we did have that news though about Kirkman.
Oh, that's right.
Kirkman is in talks to buy DC Comics from AT&T, and Walking Dead, Robert Kirkman. If that would save DC Comics, because nobody knows comics and loves comics, I think, more than him. All hail Overlord Kirkman. I would cheer his name if he did that, because frankly, AT&T has done everything wrong in my opinion. But whatever. Next is Batman Detective Comics. This is Tamaki Mora and Belair, and this is Detective Comics 1034. But more importantly, it's a new start for Batman. Batman no longer has the Batcave, no longer has his mansion, is living in the big city in, well, a relatively richer part of the city. But he's less well off than he used to be, and he finds himself wanting a cave of sorts. So he makes his own in a very TMNT Turtles sort of way. That's weird. A little odd for Bruce, but I want to see where it's going from there. There's a couple other things that happened. We know that we were getting a Damian story in the last issue that we were all super intrigued about because he has a new look. And that look might even change a bit more. We're going to have to wait and see. This particular Detective Comics story centers around the fact that, well, the Joker did have access to a lot of tech when he did his Joker War. So now a lot of the Wayne tech is in the hands of villains, and that's a problem. So we're going to be solving that throughout the next few issues, I imagine. Is it good? Yes, it's good. I'm having a good time with this. I'm liking this new run. We'll wait and see. I'd say give it another issue before I fully say I'm completely on board. But I am having a good time, and the art's really good. So I would say go pick it up. If you're a DC fan, you will have a good time. Next is a book that, well, I loved it. Phillips, Rossmo, and Placencia. This is Harley Quinn. Harley is trying to turn over a new slate. You know, she's got an apartment. She's trying to make ends meet. And at the same time, she's going to right the wrongs of her past because she, whether or not he considers it to be true, she considers herself a member of the Bat family now. One, in fact, that deserves her own Bat toaster. So, time with it. The art is good. The story was fun. The dialogue was great. And, you know, I want to know where they're going. Harley actually seems to be dusting off her doctor's license, per se, and trying to help reform some of the people that were, that went wrong in the Joker War. And I think that fits because nobody else knows the Joker and his abuse and getting twisted into doing, you know, stupid things working for the Joker than she does. So that's a good fit. I want to know where it's going, but it's Harley. And, you know, she's going to find ways to stumble that are equally entertaining. So, yeah. Had a good time with that. Really love the art. And, oh, my God, I'm losing the Twitch stream. I'm sorry, Twitch. I'm trying to fix you right now. That was crazy. Everything just started falling. I don't know what was happening there. I can't fix that. Okay. So that, I'd say that's another must-buy. Yang, Reese, Mickey, and Rich. This is Batman, Superman, Double the Danger. Now, I'm going to tell you that this comic itself is a bit surreal. Are you excited for Harley Quinn Season 3? I still haven't watched Season 1. I haven't. Yeah, everybody does that with me. They're like, it's amazing. Okay. We need to talk about this book in particular because this is it's kind of different. What you're going to get in this is you're going to get 2 Batman and Superman stories, and there's a way they're going to combine, but it centers around old 8mm film, and it's just one of the coolest effects I've seen in comics and storytelling in a long time, and you can't miss it for that reason alone. I can't really talk any more about it without spoiling it, but I was super intrigued. So pick it up, thumb through it, see if it looks like your jam, and if you buy it, I promise you'll probably be really entertained. I had a great time with it this week. Is it my DC pick of the week? Sadly, no, but it's pretty close. Next is a book, well, I loved, probably for all the wrong reasons, I don't know, Batman Black and White. The art is good, the storyline is good, but there's a story in here that I believe is Carrie Kelly and Batman in a haunted house, and I love Carrie Kelly. I don't know why. It's because I grew up in the 80s reading comics, and that at the time was the Robin that I knew as a kid. So I know those stories did not hold up well over the years. I've gone back and tried to reread them, and there's a lot I looked past as a kid. But I was just happy to see that. So I think that alone is worth the price of admission. You get a bunch of good writers and stories in here, including Chip Zdarsky, who we keep talking about these last month. And next issue is gonna featuring new stories and art by Jen Bartel in a Batman Black and White. Which I'm not.
Sandra Kane's in the next one.
Okay.
She did the cover for it. I do remember.
Okay.
That.
So it's like I don't know. I love Jen Bartel's art. She's one of my favorite artists. But a Black and White, Jen Bartel is the queen of rainbows. Like it's different. I'm gonna have to see that for sure. Next is Katana Collins, Sean Murphy, Matteo Scalera, and Dave Stewart. If you recognize this team, you know I'm talking about the Batman Curse of the White Knight universe with Harley Quinn. And yes, this has centered around Harley Quinn. Yes, you can tell from the outfit, on the cover, that she's getting an upgrade, and she's getting to the bottom of her first case. And I've loved everything about this particular Harley Quinn taking over for Batman. That's really what she's doing, is taking over from Batman and figuring out a case in this White Knight universe. And it's been really fun. While Batman's been atoning for his own sins of his past. And I've had a good time with it. And we get a new suit. We get a wrap up to the storyline. It was really exciting. I'm happy to say that the two, when it's a female villain and a female hero fighting in this comic, they don't end it with a hug. Yay! It's ended with a brutal fight, and I loved it. So yeah, it's great. It's a good ending. Come pick it up. Next is, it's Action Comics 1029. This is Johnson, Hester, Gasper, and Hi-Fi. And we saw in the last issue that Jonathan Kent was struggling with the fact that, his father might be living on borrowed time. He might be nearing the end of his life, because he's starting to recognize stuff that he read in the history books when he was in the year 3000. And, it's a sobering moment when kids realize that their parents aren't infallible, that they've got flaws and they can make mistakes and they can even be injured. And we all did if you had a good parent, like a good father or a good mother or both, you all did kind of see them with rose-colored lenses back in the day and probably saw them as perfect people. And eventually you come to the reality that your parents are just as flawed as you are. So it was good. It was kind of sobering, and it was a fun read. It's definitely a father and son story that I liked. And there's a little bit of a mystery as to what happens to Superman from here on out. We're gonna have to wait and see. But I'm having a good time with this, is what I'm gonna say. Granted, I don't know. I'm still sad that we don't have the Super Sons era of Jonathan Kent and Damian running around as kids. I've still missed that adventure, but okay. Yeah. Next is Remender, Bengal, and Denisio. Denisio? That's the new name on this. That's a new name on this, Denisio. We're talking about Scumbag, issue number 6. Now, Scumbag trade is already out. So if you want issues number 1 through 5, I have no idea how we got it that fast, but we've got that on our shelf. Now, what do you get in this? Well, the Scumbag, in the last issue we saw, he saved the world while also selling out the world to the terrorist organization. And meanwhile, he's living in his mansion and doing his drugs and having his orgies that he planned the whole time and listening to Judas Priest. This is the most flawed character in comic history with some of the best art I've ever seen. And I've been thoroughly entertained with this story. It's been bonkers, but fun. And it's wrong in all the right ways, as I guess is how you describe it. This is no different. It's going to be a new story arc. Partly, I mean, he's still got stuff that he's trying to clean up from his past, but it's mostly a new story arc, and it's fun. So jump in right here if you haven't been on board. Trust me, you will not be disappointed with this Scumbag run. It's just been outstanding. There's a hero of sorts, an anti-hero that I never knew I'd love. Next is, well, there's so much good working on this. Walker, Brown, Green, Dodson, Otis Main, Elahu, and we're talking about the amazing, the magnificent. And I'm sad that Dennis Cow's name is not on this cover. Is he not tied to this right now? He's not doing this run? But this is Bitterroot. And if you didn't know Bitterroot is essentially, I think they have a term for it. It's called something. Oh, it's going to kill me. I'm going to go to the last page and see what it's called. It's called Conjure Punk. Conjure Punk. And I guess Afrofuturism is what it's called. It takes place in the South during time of civil rights and heavy racism and such. Actually, I think it's pre-civil rights, isn't it? It's pre-civil rights, right? It's like the time of Prohibition, I think. Yeah.
Right before that.
And there's a lot of racism, and what the writer and artist team do is they use racism as monsters as a very in-your-face metaphor for racism, and it references our time, and it does it brilliantly. I mean, it's an amazing story that at times is thought-provoking, that makes you wonder, did people just become it gives you talking points that you wouldn't normally see in today's society, but definitely references to today's society quite well. And there's redemption stories in it. I've loved everything about this run, in this story. I shouldn't say run because now it's just an ongoing, isn't it? Like they take breaks, but they're not limiting it. I think the 1 through 6 was supposed to be a run, and then people were like, this is amazing. The art is outstanding. I mean, just some of the best you've ever seen. The story is really fun. It never feels like it's selling you, a narrative to be preachy. It's just explaining that, society sucks, and this is how you fight back against these terrible atrocities in society. But it does it in a way that's super entertaining. So I've just loved it. And so we'll have it on our shelves. It's amazing. Come pick it up. I'm sad that Dennis Cow's not tied to this right now. He's one of my favorites, but okay. Next is Brian Azzarello and Eduardo Riso, and this is Moonshine number 23. Now, I confess, I have been told several times to read Moonshine, and I think I've only read a couple issues here and there. It's Prohibition era gangs meet werewolves. So that's what you get. And if you can't tell from the cover, there's a werewolf on the cover. What else do you get in this? Well, you get a really strong story with good narrative and good storytelling. And the art it's weird. At times it reminds me of, I don't know. At times I'm on the fence about this art, but I have a feeling that if I sat down and read Moonshine, I just sat down with the trade and read through it, it would be the Deadly Class syndrome where I was like, oh, I don't know about this art. And then I got 3 or 4 issues into the trade, and I was like, oh, this art is amazing. I can't stop with this. I have a feeling I would feel the same way about Moonshine. I had a good time. I picked it up on issue 23 and wasn't confused. I did want to know where it was going, and I didn't know any of the players, but I wasn't confused. I had a good time. So I think you will too, and it's not too late to jump in on that. And if you want trades, I think we have trades, don't we? Do we have Moonshine on our shelf? We have. If not, we can order it for you. Next is Haha, issue number 3. And there's just so much wild about this. Sometimes you'll get a gritty art story with a narrative that you think is going one way, and then it turns completely the other way. And you're like, wow. And then I think the second issue was it looked like it was going to be a fun story. It looked like it was going to be a dark story, and then got funny near the end and a bit weird. This one, it looks like the way the art is really, really bright and colorful and cartoony. It looks like a cartoon. It's about a mime finding a robot, and then, good Lord, does it get dark all of a sudden? Good Lord, does it get dark? Now, it's not Immortal Hulk dark. It's not like that crazy, but I was definitely like, whoa, what just happened there? Like, that was kind of messed up. But that's what you get from these Haha books. It's basically somebody trying to mess with your psyche is what it is. So yeah, I'm having a good time. And I like Mindbender stuff like that. Oh, by the way, that one is told entirely from the perspective of a mime. So there's not any, very little dialogue, I guess you could say. And I'm of the camp that mimes suck. But I still had a good time with that comic. What do you think about mimes, Cam?
I don't know. I guess it's a lifestyle.
I just can't trust a man that gets trapped inside of a box all the time.
Invisible.
Yeah. Next is Chapman Brown Rosenberg. It's King in Black. Scream. Okay, look, I wanted to like it. I really, really, honestly wanted to like it. It's just. I mean, we thought maybe it was going to be King in Black filler. And I think they tried to make it seem like it was center stage. But it still felt like filler. On top of that, there really is sort of two narratives going in here. It feels like two stories that they put together at once. And the way they put it together was kind of haphazardly. Didn't have the best time. The art was... It was okay. It was okay. The story was, well, it was weird. I mean, like, you get Scream at one point, and then you get Scream at one point in another form because her symbiote needs to do something, and then she keeps pulling that out of the bag. And frankly, we saw Venom do that with Wings at one point, but when it happened, it was like, whoa, like, where the hell did that come from? And even Brock was like, I had no idea I could do that. Meanwhile, Scream over here is just pulling that out of her bag left and right. The character seems too overpowered. You're a symbiote that has fire powers, even though symbiotes are supposed to be like frightened of fire. And then on top of that, you're Scream, so you've got some sonic powers too. On top of that, you're Venom's kid, so you're more powerful than the previous symbiote. On top of that, there's too much power. This is an OP character that needs to be taken down a bit. They can transform multiple times. And I don't know. Story felt all over the place. And really, I try not to pull any punches with my reviews because I don't want you buying a book that you don't like. But God, we have a lot of these Scream comics. So do us a favor and buy one, even though I gave you a really honest review. Next is Coates Acuna. And we're talking about Black Panther 24. We're nearing the end of the intergalactic Empire of Wakanda, which I've not had the best time with, but I will say that Black Panther 23 is probably one of the best comics I've read in a long time.
One of the best ones. If not the best one.
He gave that speech in that issue that was just like mind blowing. No, it wasn't. It was like Heroes Across the Marvel Universe. And that final fight, like we're gearing up for. So what do we get in this? Well, we get a lot of that final fight, and we do get a confrontation finally between T'Challa and N'Jaka. Did I pronounce that right? I think I did. N'Jaka. I can never pronounce that name right. I butcher names. That's just my jam. I'm sorry. So we finally do get a confrontation in there. Yes, it's great. I had a good time. I I love the dialogue. I love the action. The art is so good. I mean, really good art. The storyline is so awesome right now, which is weird because I didn't like the intergalactic Wakanda stuff for a long time. Even Cam, you are a giant Black Panther fan and said that it kind of dragged on for a bit. But Coates has this way of like, he did the same thing with the Captain America run where I was like, oh, I'm tired of this. They say Captain Hydra like every other page.
Yeah.
I'm sick of it. And then he just like pulls it out of the fire and is like, I made everything the most awesome comic ever. And you didn't see it coming. You didn't. Somehow you doubted me and I pulled it out of the fire. And Coates is just amazing for that. He just has really strong finishes, I think. So Black Panther this week, don't skip it. Oh man, I want to make it my pick of the week. Let me look at everything else. Yeah, Black Panther is my pick of the week for sure.
Yay.
Marvel pick of the week, Black Panther. Next is on to we're gonna do my indie pick of the week. This is Joss Lee Gordon, Fabiana Mascalo, and Lucia Marino. Terrible at names. Firefly, the brand new verse. Yes, we're getting a new Firefly crew. We did see in the previous Firefly comic that Wash was sort of back to life. But the spoiler is he's a robot. It's a robotic version of him that we think might have made the ultimate sacrifice, but I have a sneaky suspicion it's going to wind up coming back. This does center around Zoe, who is now captain of the Serenity, and her kids are part of the crew. It's kind of nice, yeah. So that's what the new crew is. There's quite a few others and a couple familiar faces who are going to be coming back. I had a really, really good time with it. The art is so good, which is weird because like the Firefly that we had on our shelf had pretty good art, but then like halfway through they started doing just heavy pencil work, and it was weird. And I commented like I was like the art has shifted, and then it shifted back and got better. This started out so strong. The art is, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the Magicians, and I wouldn't be surprised if the artist same. It's the same artist. It might be because I think they're both Boom Studio. Boom Studio IPs, right? They are.
They have those rights.
Anyways, so is it good? Yes, it's great, and I want to know where they're going. And as a brown coat, a giant Firefly fan, I had the best time with this. So don't skip it. Indie pick of the week for sure. Now, close second for indie pick of the week is from Aftershock this week. It's so close. Peter Calloway and Georges Genty. We're going to be talking about Shadow Doctor. So it turns out this is a true story, and the writer, centers around the writer's grandfather, I believe, who was, well, he worked for the mob as a doctor, and it was back in the days when there was racial inequality, and the man had gone through college and had gotten himself, a doctorate. That's what it's called, right? Doctorate? Medical doctorate? PhD. There we go. PhD. He'd gotten himself a PhD. Clearly, I'm not a doctor. And he couldn't find any work because he was black in America. And America was deeply racist back then. So he went to work for the mob. And of all people, Al Capone. Now, Al Capone, he's definitely a very problematic character in history because, while he saw himself as an indentured servant that was bringing liquor and gaming to people, in reality, he was killing a bunch of people. But the lesser known facts about Al Capone was Al Capone had a deaf child and saw him bullied and saw other people bullied in life for who they were or how they were. And Al Capone wasn't a particularly smart person. Yeah, so he was at times, he would stand up for the little guy. He would actually help people. And there are stories of him helping other gangsters and like showing a bit of mercy in uncertain times. And this is one of those cases where he didn't just employ this man. He helped him. He helped his life, and he helped him build something out of his life at a time when it was almost impossible to do racial inequality. And the beginning of this comic goes one way, and the fact that it's a true story is kind of shocking. It starts to go one way where you think like, oh man, are these gangs? Is this gangster actually going to go like the racism route? And then again, a complete 180 by the end of it. And I loved it. It was outstanding, and there was a good lesson in there too. So don't skip it. Almost my pick of the week. It's neck and neck with Firefly. Maybe it's just a fanboy talking, but I really love the Firefly art. The art in this is equally good, and yes, it's another thought-provoking story for our times. It's based on a true story from another time in American history. But check it out. True story or not, it's an amazing comic, and at times it's so good it feels like it's just fiction. It's how good it feels like, but it's not. So come pick it up. It's great. Next is Ewing, Cabal, and Blee. Liftoff in 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, so the next issue is Guardians Liftoff. Wow. Brand new story arc. I am very sad to see this Guardians of the Galaxy run come to an end because, oh God, was it good? And is the final fight good? It's amazing. Oh, is it 13? Oh, Liftoff is 13. I thought it was a new
arc.
Oh, it's a new arc. Oh, okay. I thought they were relaunching it again.
Okay.
Yeah, because they've done it like 2 or 3 times now. This one's been amazing. Star-Lord, we've seen Star-Lord grow as a character. Peter Quill has grown an insane amount. He's had 120 years to grow and not only look internally, but also master a new power set. And it's been fun. We've finally seen Star-Lord become, well, an actual Star-Lord with powers. Not just, a kind of a play on words for, everyday sci-fi guy with a gun. It's been really, really, really fun. I'm very happy to say that the final fight between the Greek gods, which is weird, they had a fight between the Greek gods, but the final fight is fun and really amazing and shocking with how it turns out. A couple things are revealed. Don't skip it. Don't skip it. Again, almost my pick of the week for Marvel. Neck and neck. Almost my pick of the week. Next is Dugan Walker, Hannah and Tartaglia. We're talking about Savage Avengers. Now, we saw in the last issue that, well, Conan and his new buddies, to include Deadpool, decided they were going to rob the Hellfire Club. That's not a good idea. You don't steal from mutants. That seems dumb. And well, they might be roped into trying to help the mutants as a way for atonement and maybe some payment in return. It's going to put Conan by the end of this issue on a collision course with Krakoa in one of the most interesting ways, with a few people I would not want to be on a collision course with. Not at all. So, do you like the new Guardians? I love it. I love the new Guardians team. Granted, I did like the last Guardians team too, if I'm honest. Yeah, I had a really good time with that team. But okay, back to Savage Avengers. Is it good? Yes, it's great. The art is great. The story is great. I've not complained once about one of these Savage Avengers stories. It really is. You take Conan, you throw him in the Marvel universe, and you just like let him be Conan in that universe and see what happens. And it's just been nonstop fun. I've laughed multiple times, and this is no different. The art is the same art. It's great. It's really, really good. You will not be bored. If you're not on that Savage Avengers run, you either just don't like Conan, which I can understand. Many people don't like Conan the Barbarian, or you're just allergic to fun, because God, is it fun. Next is Cam. You love this comic, don't you?
Cable's been entertaining.
Cable has been entertaining. Cable issue number 9, and this is Dugan and Noto, and I'm a huge Jerry Dugan fan, although it might be Duggan. You figure I'd know how to pronounce his name if I'm a huge fan. But what do you get here? Well, you get a really amazing story that centers around, well, Cable and his girlfriend Esme, who is one of the Cuckoos, handling stuff. And, Emma Frost is always mad at Esme. I guess Esme is the problem child of the Cuckoos, which I guess there's always got to be one in a hive mind. So you get a little more story about that. More importantly, well, Cable's been trying to figure out who Strife is and track him down, which is another Cable clone that has always been a problem, I think. How long has Strife been a problem?
I don't know.
Yeah, a long time, it feels like. Anyways, because he was in the future being problems for the old Cable.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's been a long time. So yeah, we're gonna get further into that. Is it good? Yes, it's great. The art is great. It made me laugh a few times, and I really like the way Esme and Cable handle things, situations. They're very brutal. Like of the mutants, I think. I mean, they're not brutal in like a bad sense, but they're just very direct, I guess you could say. Like they don't mess around.
I'm sitting here thinking like,
yeah. When Cable handles stuff, it is really messy. We can. Yeah. There's no doubting that it's terribly messy. But the last issue too, he's like running around with Domino in the last issue, and they're chasing down a villain, and a friggin' meteorite hits him. And they're like, Cable's like, wow, what are the odds? And Domino's like you're hanging out with Luck and Carnage. Of course that happened. Cable is amazing. Don't skip it. It's just been really fun. Next is Howard, Percy, Ewing, Lashley, Pacelli, McCree, Iacono, Fernandez. So many amazing artists and writers. I should have liked this better. Sad to say. Carnage, Black, White, and Blood is not a bad book. It's just okay. You get 3 Carnage stories, and one of them is very surreal. I'm not kidding you. It's a choose-your-own-adventure where they want you to roll a die to determine what panel you go to. It's different. It's different. Is it something I want in my comics often? Not particularly. It's kind of a gimmick, but okay, we'll write that one off. How are the other 2 stories? Well, one is a Cowboy Carnage story. It's a bit weird. But we have known that the symbiote has existed before that. Okay. And then the other one is, well, it just felt like a typical sort of strange run-of-the-mill Carnage. It's a Carnage love story. So it's weird. It's very, very weird. Is it fun? Kind of. The art is really good. I like the art quite a bit. The story's just it's a bit weird. It's 3 weird stories in one book. So none of them really knocked it out of the park for me. So it's okay. It's okay. We'll have it here if you want it. You're Carnage fans. There's so many Carnage fans out there. I imagine it'll sell. Yeah, Cam too. Cam, huge Carnage fan. Next is Vampirella versus Purgatory. Everybody's favorite vampire back again. Well, not everybody's. Clearly Dynamite's favorite vampire. Because we have so many Vampirella books. What do you get in this? Well, Vampirella has a friend named Purgatory, and she's, well, you can see on the cover, she's kind of demonic succubi. Succubi? Succubus? Succubus? Succubi? I don't know what's the singular plural. I have no idea. But they're going to butt heads. There you go. Full stop. That's what we're building towards. Now, was the story good? Yeah, actually, the story was all right. It was pretty good. The art was pretty good. I just, it always feels like if it's Vampirella, it's going to be boobs, blood, and kicking butt. The 3 Bs. The 3 Bs right there. Boobs, blood, and kicking butt. Is it good? It's okay. I think I have Vampirella, like,
worn out.
Exhaustion. Yeah. Like, I'm so tired of so many Vampirella stories. Dynamite, please get some fresh branding, something else new. Now, is it bad? No, I was entertained. It's just I'm tired of Vampirella. We've got it on our shelves if you want it. Next is a Dark Horse book that was actually pretty darn good. Lady Baltimore, the Witch Queens. Now, is she Captain America's version of Baltimore? I don't know. I don't know why she's named Lady Baltimore. But what is the story? Well, it involves witches and witch hunters and trying to rescue friends. There is a lot of moving parts in a short story. Does that mean it's bad? No, it's not bad. Actually, I kind of liked the witches and their power sets, like summoning giant eyeballs from that fly around the sky that look very much like Terraria monsters, and a bunch of other stuff. It was fun. To me, it felt like I don't know how I would describe this. It's like Buffy crossed with I don't know, Buffy crossed with the Prohibition times, maybe. Yeah, maybe that's what it seems like. That's a theme this week. There's like 3 books that seem around that time frame, so that's what it sort of feels like. I will say I had a good time with this first issue, and that doesn't mean that I think you should rush off and buy it. The story was it was like Buffy crossed with Indiana Jones because there was like Nazi references too. It was a bit weird. The story's a bit all over the place. I'd like them to rope it in and kind of get where they're going, but I didn't have a bad time with it. I thought the action was okay. The art was really good. I had a good time with the art, and I was a bit intrigued by the characters. So it's one of those ones where I'm going to say pick it up, see if you like the first issue. If you don't like the first issue, maybe thumb through it before you buy it, or give it at least 2 issues, though. Give it at least 2 issues before you commit to a sub. So, yeah. Next is a book that I love and I wish everyone would buy, and not enough people do. Oh, this is Stan Sakai, and then after Frazetta, and then Hi-Fi. There are multiple people on a Usagi book. I didn't notice that before this. I feel bad, like I haven't been crediting people. This centers around Usagi and a Tengu from his past that has sort of is missing a hand, but has laid claim to Usagi's hand in the future, and then sort of learned a bit of swordsmanship from him. Well, that Tengu is caught in a Tengu war, and needs some help. So Usagi is there in the fight, because why wouldn't he be? The Ronin passing through just happens along the fight. There you go. It's an excuse for action, and we're going to get to see the Tengu clans be fleshed out more and have a bit more substance to their sort of like politics going back and forth. So I was intrigued. I had a good time with it, and it's a good excuse for a big fight in Usagi, which is always kind of my favorite thing. So come pick it up. It's great. It's fun seeing Usagi in full color. And the story is really, really good. And I don't know, I love Sakai. I just wish more people would check him out. Please, please, come sub to Usagi. You will not be bored. Next is, this is TMNT Best of Michelangelo. We knew we were going to get it because we had a Best of Leonardo, a Best of Raph. Did we have a Best of Raph? We definitely had Leo and Donatello.
I thought he was first.
Was he? Maybe.
Raph was first.
Was he? Okay. So this will be the Best of Michelangelo. Will we get a Best of Jenica? That would be impossible, right?
She's only got like
She's the newest.
2 series.
Yeah, she's only had like 12 books, and then the regular TMNT. That'd be weird. What do you get in this? You get three, maybe 4 stories of Mikey's history. And the first ones are always the most intriguing to me because those are the 90s comics that I grew up with. So that first one centers around Mikey in a Christmas scenario, which, while it is a good story and kind of touching, it's not my favorite of the Mikey stories. And I've talked about this before, but my favorite of the old Mikey stories involve him going off on his own and not even using nunchucks during that time. He's using like the weight and chain. And there's just chain like everywhere in like all different directions while he's fighting off like Foot Clan. And yeah, it's so brutal and bloody, and they're just good action stories. I wish they had gone with one of those. Sadly, they didn't. You get 2 other stories. Neither of them were really my jam. One's like a few years back, and the other one's from like the current run. They're okay. I will say, of all the best of books, this one felt the weakest. But if you need a TMNT Christmas story, it's still pretty good. We will have this on our shelf for you.
There is one more.
Oh, you know what? What was my Marvel pick of the week? Yeah, it's still Black Panther. Oh, but this one's so close, dude. So close. Next is not this one. The one after that. Though this one's good too. McKay, VD, and Guru Effects. This is Taskmaster. This is the final book in the Taskmaster storyline, and we've been trying to get to the bottom of who killed Maria Hill, who framed Taskmaster, who put him on this collision course with Black Widow. Are we going to eventually get to see that fight? All of that comes to pass in this book, and it was awesome. As far as endings go for story arcs, this one was hysterical, a lot of fun. Were you bored at any point during this Taskmaster run? No. And we saw him fight. It was funny. Yeah, the writing was so good. Okay, man. Like the writing was it was like he was in that character, and Taskmaster is a bastard, and his internal monologue is great and hysterical, very flawed. But we saw him beat Hyperion, which is almost impossible. It was so good. So man, come pick up this issue. If you haven't been on board with this Taskmaster run, you really, really missed out, and you need to get the trades. But I would say don't skip that issue because I had a really good time with that. Next is Ahmed, Carnero, and Curiel, and this is Miles Morales, SpiderMan. But we're finally Miles is getting his own Clone Saga, which better be better than the OG Clone Saga. Because although I love the Scarlet Spider, and I've always liked his look, and I've liked Ben Reilly as a character, and Kane actually too, which came out of the Clone Saga, I did not like how that ended. I don't know why they ended it in the courtroom. That was stupid. Okay, as long as this doesn't end in a courtroom, it should be better. And frankly, I don't know. We need Miles to get a Clone Saga. I don't know what his counterpart as a Scarlet Spider is going to be, but I want to see it. I want to know what that is. So, yeah, it's great. It's great. The story's good. It has Kamala Khan and Miles bonding in the beginning of it, which leads to more stuff. It's always been hinted that they might become a thing. So
they're written by the same. The Magnanimous Marvels by the same writer.
Oh yeah, it is. Saladin Ahmed. Yeah. Yep. And it's great. It's great. It's really, really good. It was almost my pick of the week, like just about there. But I just have to give it to Coates, man. Coates is the master of like me having me go, I'm not feeling this too. Oh my God, I can't get enough of this. So yeah. Almost there though. The art is so outstanding. The story is good. I can't wait to see where they're going with this Clone Saga.
That's the next issue too.
It's the next issue. Well, some of it is hinted at in this. That's all I'm going to say. So you really need to pick up this issue. Next is Howard Toe and R.C. Onega, and we're talking about Excalibur. And this is more Captain Britain shenanigans. And yes, we were a little disappointed to see Betsy Braddock as Captain Britain die so quick in X of Swords. But at the same time, if you have to kill a character, are you a huge Captain Britain fan? We've talked about this. No. I've never met a giant Captain Britain fan. How about you, Yogi? Ever met a Captain Britain fan? Mm-hmm. Not really. And if you ask British people if they're Captain Britain fans, they'd probably be like, what? What are you talking about? So yeah, okay. It's more Captain Britain shenanigans. I get it. The multiverse stuff is all their shtick, but I've never really bonded with that character. And it felt like Excalibur was finally breaking away from that Captain Britain trend that at one point had like Jubilee and like all members of the Excalibur team as Captain Britons, which I was like, you're getting out of hand with this stuff.
Wasn't that like a couple of issues ago too?
Yeah, and it kind of bothered me because it seemed like they were getting a tower, like they were doing the fantasy thing again, and then roped back into this shenanigans. So is it good? I mean, if I was an Excalibur fan or a Rogue and Gambit fan, I might be on board with this, even though there's not a lot of them in this issue. If I was a Captain Britain fan, I'd totally be on board with this, but I don't know if they exist. It's okay. It's okay. Excalibur to me still feels like one of the weaker X books. Not Hellions bad, in my opinion, but not great either. Next is, oh my God, this cover. Wong, Jung, and Olazaba and Rosenberg. This cover is so great. Dr. Aphra's face running from an explosion is just cracked me up. The second I picked this up was just laughing hysterically. Let me tell you, I have wished and wished for a feeling of the previous Dr. Aphra run because this one hasn't felt like it. they're finally starting to feel like that. This was a really good issue of Dr. Aphra. And it has them sort of trying to find some old to ancient tech and unlocking something new for her ship. Meanwhile, they said, "What happened to your droids?" And Dr. Aphra says, I think they're freelancing. Which, if you know the Dr. Aphra droids, she had Sith droids with her, which were essentially evil C-3PO and R2-D2. One of them is called 000, which happens to be one of my favorite characters in the Star Wars universe by far. So, yeah, I'm hoping they reappear because they referenced them, so why wouldn't they bring them back into the fray? Like, maybe we'll see them again. Maybe. Anyways, so is it good? Yes. Does it feel like that Ultra Aphra run? Well, I didn't read every issue of the last Dr. Aphra run. I read a good portion of it, and it's starting to feel that way. So I think if you've been waiting to jump in on Dr. Aphra, that's the issue to do it. Go out and pick up number 8. I guarantee you will fall in love with that character. Next is, Yogi's going to be mad at me for this not being the pick of the week for Marvel, and I'm sorry, Yogi. I'm sorry.
You said Black Panther is already mad at you.
Philip Kennedy Johnson, Salvador Larroca, and Guri Effects. Alien #1 in the Marvel Universe. Now, we all secretly hoped it would be like Aliens versus the Brood versus the Clintar symbiotes in some giant battle in mainline Marvel Universe. Sadly, we haven't gotten there yet. This is definitely still the Aliens universe. I think that I don't know if they're going to bring them into mainline Marvel yet. I don't know if that's a thing. But this is the Aliens universe, and we've got an alien story. And is it good? Yes, it's actually pretty good. The story, I mean, it feels like typical Alien flavor, but they've done some memory issues, the sort of shaky narrator type stuff. So it's pretty good. I want to know where it's going, but it didn't knock my socks off, sad to say. Will you have a good time if you're an Aliens fan? I think yes, you will. Plus, the art is really good, and I don't think you should skip it because the way they brought Conan into the mainline Marvel universe was surprising and very sudden, but it really worked. And I don't know if they're going to do that with Aliens. Maybe this is it.
This doesn't even feel like that universe at all. This feels like the classic Aliens.
It feels like the classic Aliens universe. So it's a Marvel Aliens book, but it doesn't feel like they're pulling them into mainline Marvel yet, which is sad. I want to see that happen. But we've got it. Next is Brian Herbert, Kevin J. Anderson, Dev Premanik, and Alex Guimarães. This is Dune House Atreides. Now, is it good? Yes. And we get the different houses and guilds, and their different politics and backstabbery. But more importantly, we get a character that you would know from the books called Stilgar. And Stilgar is an absolute badass of a character. And so we get to see a lot of that come to pass in this book. And I'm happy that they're doing all this stuff, which actually takes place before the OG Dune, which is the first book. So it's fun, really, really good. And they're fleshing out more characters. But yes, Stilgar's in this. So if you're a Dune fanboy, you will love this. If you are anyone else, you will be thoroughly confused if you start with this book. So don't start with this book. Go back a couple issues. But I had a good time. The art was really good. I'm a huge Dune fanboy, though. Next is Spencer, Gleason, and Delgado. Okay. Look, I'm a little harsh on the fact that Spider-Man looks like Blue Beetle. That is Blue Beetle's costume on Spider-Man is what it feels like to me. I don't like the new suit. I do like the new premise, which we can finally talk about. Nick Spencer is finally not doing that weird gritty story and is pulled away and is doing something a bit better. So we should all pat Nick Spencer on the back because this is fun. But it centers around, well, Spider-Man's he needs to make money. So he goes to his old pal, J. Jonah Jameson, and decides to hatch a plan to have an app that will give you the first-person perspective of Spider-Man while he fights crime. Which immediately, like, everybody and their mother is now watching Spider-Man's app and taking part in this and feeling like they get to be Spidey. The problem is that J. Jonah has added some advertising to the suit. So that's going on. And on top of that, like, people are voting on things he should say, whether or not they make sense or not.
That's pretty meta right there.
It's
everyone wants to put in their own say-so on the actual Spider-Man character, J.J. Abrams.
Yeah. It's
it doesn't work.
it's pretty meta, but like if you did this with real life, you would have Spider-Man saying stuff like "I am not a cat" like every 5 minutes. It wouldn't work in real life, and I'm not sure it works in the comic, and it's leading to some funny situations. But this issue in particular centers around Boomerang, whose new look. Well, is that his new look or his old look? I think it's kind of a new look. I'm not sure either. I don't know the Marvel Boomerang all that well, other than he's a villain, just like DC. He uses Boomerang. But is it fun? Yeah, it's really fun. And I love Spidey's roommates' adventures. It's been a good time. And I like these characters. And I'm glad Nick Spencer is pulling away from that weird Sin Eater stuff that I didn't care about. So it's been fun. Let's keep going with it. Even if you hate the new suit, which I don't like it, we do have the new suit on this cover. And it's kind of a weird premise. I want to know where it's going. Plus, I don't know. I'm really fond of J. Jonah Jameson being Spidey's like best friend these days.
That's pretty dope. Dude, like, what was that where he like straight up ran to his side when he was unconscious and like stood over him?
He was like, "We gotta save Spider-Man." That was like
brought like the
that was like 2 years back.
Yeah,
it was so good.
Like, oh man, that's what's up.
Oh yeah, I've loved it. So I love that, and I'm glad we get that back, and that's been really fun. So Amazing Spider-Man issue number 62. Don't skip it, even if you don't like the suit. Give it a chance, like I did. It's been really fun. And I get it. As Spider-Man fans this past year, you've been like, all the twists that happened in Sin Eater, none of them were twists. They were all just like, So that's our show. I'm going to put my mask back on, and we're going to get back to not quarantining, but proper safety regulations. And you should too. And we will see you next week. Bye, guys.